Okay, welcome. You guys aren't going to see me in this video other than my hands. So just in case you missed me, I thought I would show you a portrait I did of myself a while ago. This is a lithograph. I'd like to do unflattering self-portraits. But anyhow, that's me. But let's go ahead and get started. This is our first proof with a Linocut, printing by hand. So, I want to show you guys the materials first that we're going to be needing. Here's my lino block. My wife did a beautiful print. We did a proof of it already. I had some problems with the audio not working, so I couldn't use that one. It was a bit upsetting, but it doesn't matter. I cleaned it off. It's the same as the first time. So you're going to want to have a wooden spatula. You guys all have one of those. You need your ink. You guys have different varieties. Some of you have the speedball. Some of you have the super black. They both should work. The super black is a looser ink. The speedball is a little bit tighter. We might add a little bit of hand cream to this ink to loosen it. So I'll show that in a second. You're going to need your brayer. You should all have one of those. You want to have that plexiglass piece that was in your kit. You also would like to have, this is a good thing to have too, that plastic tray that I gave you as well, just to keep things a little bit more in order. You want to have some gloves to wear for this. A little knife or something to mix with. If you guys have a palette knife from painting, that would work really good. The other thing is rags or paper towels. Just make sure you have stuff to clean up with, and that includes a spray bottle of just water. You can even just kind of have a cup or something and pour water into a cup. I'm going to go ahead and put my gloves on as we get going here. The other thing you're going to need to have is the printing paper. And maybe I should handle that before I put my gloves on. So here's the printing paper. You're going to be using masa. That's the really thin stuff. I cut up a bunch of it for you from your paper drawers. You should have at least 10, maybe 11 pieces of it that are about 12 by 10, something like that, maybe a little bit longer. That should give you at least an inch border on your 10 by 8 blocks. I have a smaller block. The other thing you might have noticed that I did here, I measured and centered my block, and what I did is I drew, it might be hard to see, so I'll kind of redo it for you. After I centered my block, I drew registration marks in the opposite corners. This is going to be important for printing. We're going to be printing it starting, we're going to put the plate upside down, and we're going to flip this whole guy over and then print it by hand using that spatula. Okay, so we're going to first talk about the paper. The paper has a rough side and it has a waxy side. You can't really see it, but trust me, the waxy side is the back, okay? That is the back. The rough side is the front. Do not confuse the two. The rough side is the printing side, so that's really important. You're going to get a much better result if you use the correct side, which is the rough side for the printing side. I'm going to get my paper out of the way as I start to kind of roll up ink. I should mention, it's really nice if you have a sturdy table to work on, something that's solid, that's not shaky, something that you're not going to destroy or damage by pressing down hard, because you're going to be exerting a little bit of pressure through using your own muscles on this project. You guys are now the press, okay? The nice thing about linoleum, you don't need the same amount of pressure that you need with intaglio, not even close. So it's a good thing in some ways. This happened after we did our intaglio portion of the class. All right, so I'm going to take some of the speedball ink. And what I'm going to show you guys is a way of just kind of squirting out a little bit, okay? I'm going to put a little bit in my tray here. You know, the beautiful thing about ink is you can always get more of it if you run out. You know, get this glass out of the way, all that glare. I mentioned it's not a bad idea if you have some hand cream, any type of hand cream. It doesn't have to be a Lubriderm necessarily, but any type of hand cream should work for this project. I think I got my screen backwards, but it really shouldn't matter for this one. I'm not doing any text. I'm just going to squirt a little bit of the hand cream over there, okay? Again, go very, very conservative when you're putting modifiers in your ink. We've talked about that before with when we add the oil to our intaglio ink, you always just add a little bit. Same kind of mindset there. Just add a little bit of that. I'm just going to take some of my hand cream. It could be hand cream, it could be body cream. If you look for the ingredient called glycerin on the ingredients list, Glycerin, glycerin, that is the ingredient that makes this work. I'm going to add a little bit more ink. Just don't oversaturate it with the hand cream. Glycerin is it slows down the drying process, so that's why the glycerin in the hand cream is being used as a modifier. I learned that just this past few days talking to other printmaking professors. Now I think if you use that super black, this stuff here, I don't think you're going to need the modifier of the hand cream, because that stuff's looser. I would have given everybody that stuff, but I just didn't have enough to go around. I'd run out of it, and I had no time to get more. So I got the Speedball block ink, which is good stuff too. I mean, they're both the same company actually, just different styles of ink. But the Speedball will work. Okay, I think I got enough of my ink there mixed up. Like I said, if we need more ink as we go, well, we can always just get more. So I'm going to take some of this and just kind of lay a bead across on the top of this plexiglass, similar to what we do in class. We've used some rollers in class, so it's similar to that. Now I'm going to take my brayer, and let me just wipe my hand a little bit here. I'm going to take my brayer and start to roll out some ink. Again, hopefully you have a decent sized work area too, and a sturdy table. So this plexiglass piece is really pretty much like your palette. If you got a bigger piece of plexi around the house, or I don't know, I wouldn't encourage you to use glass because you could crack it, but plexiglass, if you have a bigger one, you might want to use that. We're going to be using this also if we're doing a print, a monotype later on. So be careful with this, don't destroy it or damage it. All right, so having some newsprint, newspaper, any paper towel, like you want to have some kind of underneath and around your block. As you can see, I have it here. Because you're going to get a little bit of ink on the surface that you're rolling on. And better off just not having to clean it up if you can help it. All right, so I'm going to start rolling on my block. Recharging. Some of you guys have bigger brayers than this one. Most of you do probably. But even a small brayer should work fine. You'll notice that I'm going in different directions already. Make sure I put this in the center here. Yeah, I had some problems because my audio, I didn't click a button earlier, so that was a real upsetting thing. I did a nice demo with no sound. All right, you want to make sure you're getting that whole block evenly inked. You don't want to have spots that you miss. You also you want to roll it in different directions to make sure you're making it more even. Don't just keep starting and stopping in the same spot every time, because that spot will probably be dark, but the other areas might get light. So inking up is really evenly is really the key to this. If you don't have the right amount of ink, you don't have an even amount of ink, you're going to have light spots. You could over ink it too. That's also a possibility. In that case, you might have a little bit of bleeding. Your lines might not look as crisp as they should if you over ink it. Now, how much ink is the right amount of ink? That's a good question, because it's hard for me to show you that in the video. You know that little test block that you guys used for cutting? You might want to go ahead and use that first to get a feel for this medium. When you do roll out your ink, one thing, I should get this underneath, one thing to avoid is getting what's called the orange peel effect. In other words, your ink should not look like a black orange peel, because that's going to mean it's too thick on your brayer. It's going to make like a slurping or slushy noise. This ink I got right here is just about right, I think. It could be a little bit thinner. The ink should look kind of like black velvet on the glass, on the plexiglass as you roll it out, not like an orange, okay? So avoid the orange, go for the velvet, all right? Kind of a strange phrase there, but hopefully you get the idea. You do have to recharge it a lot. And your first print is the one that's going to be the hardest in a lot of ways because it takes more ink to print the first one than the second one. So let's just say that we got a print here, a proof. We go like, wow, that looks really good. I think I'm done. I'm ready to print my second one. Well, right after this, instead of cleaning anything up, you would just simply recharge your brayer, re-ink your plate, and then print another one, just like we did in Intaglio with etchings and dry points. You don't need to clean things off between prints during an edition. You're going to do a minimum of 2, but you're welcome to do more. All right, I think I'm ready to go ahead and try, maybe one more roll, try to do the print, the hand print. Hand printing, I should say. It's not a hand print. I'm not going to take my hand and stick it in ink and then put it on paper. We're not going that basic. Okay, guys, I'm going to move my my palette and my ink kind of out of the way. I want to have a clean area. Even this spot here where I got some ink on my newsprint, I'm going to go ahead and flip that over so I have a clean area because I'm going to handle my paper now. So I'll probably take my gloves off. And I'm going to get my sheet of masa, which I have already marked out like I showed you guys. If you think you're going to be printing more than one, I would really encourage you to have more than one sheet ready to go. So you don't have to do the registration lines. Handle your plate carefully by the edges. Don't touch the surface. And just line it up with those 2 corners that you drew, okay? Try to draw those lines lightly so you barely see them in the final print. And when you lay your print down, or your plate down on your paper, upside down like this, do not pick it up and move it if you think it's not centered right. Don't worry about it if your print's a little off center or off square. You're better off having that than picking it up because you're going to blur the whole thing. The whole thing's going to smear if you pick it up and try to put it back down. So I'm initially giving it a rubbing right now. Now the tricky part is it's coming right up. We're going to take our plate, maybe pull up a little further, and our paper, and we're going to slide our hand underneath it and then squeeze it kind of between both palms and flip it over and lay it down very carefully. Okay, and now we're going to do what's really the hand printing by hand in earnest here. So I'm going to take my spatula and I'm going to start going over a general kind of once over. I'm going to go more side to side because that's kind of how these lines are in this print. I should mention my amazingly talented wife volunteered to do a Linocut for this demo. She is a printmaker and a sculptor. So she knows what she's doing. She's done lots of relief prints, both lino and wood cuts, as well as other type of prints. So she got her BFA in printmaking from Indiana University, and I got my master's fine arts in printmaking from Indiana. So that's how we met. I don't know if you care about that, but I think you're going to really like this print. So I'm starting now to push down harder and harder. And you start to kind of get a sense, you'll see like kind of the image through the paper, a bit of a ghost image. The paper is semi-transparent for that reason, so that you can see it. Also, it's waxy on the back to give you less resistance when you do print by hand. So this is really an ideal paper for printing by hand. Don't hold the spatula at too sharp of an angle. You could actually tear your paper or push it into the grooves that you created with your marks. You do want to put pressure though. I mean, you can't really overdo the pressure. Some people like to use like a sheet of newsprint between the spatula and the back of the paper to give it a little bit less chance that you might kind of mess up the surface of the back of the print. All right, so you got to make sure you're getting off the edges, guys, and the corners. Your spatula should kind of overhang. If you don't, anywhere you don't touch or apply pressure, it's going to be light or nothing will be there at all, barely, if you don't touch it. So you gotta think about that you're the press, and you're not going to give a much it's not gonna come out as dark or as evenly intense as it would on a press. But it does have some beautiful kind of qualities to it by printing by hand. And some people actually like to intentionally make some areas dark and some light. It just depends on your image and kind of how familiar you get with the plate as you print. All right, so let's take a little, what we call a peekaboo right here. I'm going to peel up just one corner. Do not peel up the whole print, because you're not going to be able to put it down. So if you peel the whole thing up and you decide, shoot, that's light, I should have rubbed it more, it's too late. But if you just pull up a corner, do kind of a peekaboo, as I call it, you can lay that paper back down and nothing will shift on you, and you can go back and apply more pressure with the spatula and not have anything slide. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of peel it back. Hold it down though. It's looking pretty cool. All right, I'm going to go ahead and check out the opposite corner. It's looking pretty evenly dark to me. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and just check the top. I think we might be good though. If it's dark in two opposite corners, it usually means you got it pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip this over and show you what we got. So here's my wife's print. This is of a flock of swifts. I don't know if it's upside down or right side up. It might not really matter. I'll show you some of the other ones that we did before the audio kind of gave out. Now, it depends. Maybe I could have inked this a little bit less, and my lines might be a little bit tighter or clearer. So this is one I did first, and you can see maybe I inked it a little bit more aggressively this second time. But there's something kind of cool about both of them. So you're going to get variations on this, but that's why you want to practice with that small block. Give yourself a little bit of help with that. Don't need to add much of that hand cream. Some of you might not even want to try the hand cream. You might want to try it out both ways. But when you print that small plate with the test marks, the marks that you make, use a small piece of paper for that. You should have some scrap pieces of the masa too, not quite as big as 10 by 12. So use those for that. Okay, last thing, I think that's pretty cool. Again, if I wanted to print a second one, I would simply just re-ink my block in a similar fashion and apply pressure with that spatula. Again, I'm going to set my prints out of the way and talk about cleaning up, which, not a lot of fun, but you got to do it, especially if you want to use your block again. Say that you did a proof and you're like, that looks pretty cool, but I think I should cut away some more, which is probably most likely going to happen. That's fine. You're going to clean off your block, and then once it's clean, you can begin cutting again. You're going to notice that ink gets into the cut lines. That's fine. That's not going to show up when you print it again. The lines will be clean, even if they get dirty and ink inside of them. Not a big deal if that happens. Just make sure you get all the ink off the plate that you can, okay? And you're going to have to clean off your brayer really well. This is yours to own, guys. So if you don't clean it off well, it's going to be it's not going to work as well as it should, all right? First, I'm just going to take some paper towel and just start to almost kind of do a ghost print on the back of my plate. Just kind of pick up some of that ink off the surface. So everyone's favorite part, cleaning up. I'm going to just take my brayer and just kind of wipe it down. So you might just want to keep a couple of pair of gloves just for this project or these projects, because gloves are pretty valuable right now, more so than they used to be. I'm just going to spray some water on the paper towel and then start to wipe my brayer wheel kind of off with that. And once you get this ink wet, it does start to really dissolve pretty easily. All right, you want to make sure you don't even have any residue of ink left on the sprayer, and then you'll be clean, okay? I might not do a 100% cleanup job for the sake of this video, but believe me, after this video is over, I will clean up a lot better. Cleaning off the block. Again, spray the paper towel. It's good if you don't saturate your block with water, because it might warp on you, and it probably will if it gets too wet. Now, you guys have Sharpies down on your block too, so it might look like your drawing area still might be dark, and that's probably because of the Sharpies. If you wanted to, if you had any rubbing alcohol or denatured alcohol, you could go over your block and remove the Sharpies before you printed or after. It really doesn't matter. That's just up to you. It might just help you see things a little bit better. The other thing is the areas are going to get filled, the lower areas are going to get filled with ink. What's kind of nice about that, if you go back to cut again, you're going to know exactly where you made new cuts, because those newer cuts are going to be brighter than the old cuts. So that's something kind of nice about actually how that works. And I do recommend, after you take your proof, take a picture of your proof with your phone and flip it so that horizontal or vertical, so that it's going to be oriented in the same direction as your plate. So you're going to look at your proof and know that's going to help inform you of what more you need to do. Usually, almost all the time, people just don't do enough cutting for their first proof. They think they've done a lot, but remember, you have to really work hard to get light areas. I think this block looks pretty good as far as being clean. You might want to go over it like 1 or 2 more times. Cleaning off your plexiglass and your tray is important. I would just kind of use your knife to kind of scoop some of it up. Now keep in mind, guys, try not to use gobs of ink. This is your ink. It's got to last you. You can buy some more online. If that's not a big deal for you, just go to blick.com, look up Speedball block printing ink, and you'll probably find the exact same bottle that you got. If you got one, the other one, the super black, I can't really find that on Blick, so I don't know what to tell you about that. I got those free from a demo I went to a couple years ago. I got tons of those in a box, and now they're all gone. I'm glad I hanged on to those. All right, so just cleaning off the plexi. You can see you're going to make quite a bit of a mess. If you're able to, if you have a wash tub that you can kind of rinse things out into, but you do want to get the bulk of things cleaned off before you do any like rinsing like that. Don't just take a piece of plexi with thick ink on it and just stick it in the sink, okay? That would not be good. So wipe it down. So make sure you get it pretty clean initially, and then maybe go over it a couple more times. So I think you guys can figure out how to clean up the rest of this stuff. You don't need me to show you that. Just try and think of any other questions I might anticipate before you do this. So I'm going to be live tomorrow during class, maybe doing another print. My wife's going to maybe cut a little bit more on this, and we'll do another like second print, and hopefully we'll get the one that we want for her tomorrow. I think the print's looking pretty good. I'll show them to you one more time. All right, so there we go. Da-da, da-da. So again, 1 and 2, just like that. So you guys know all about additioning. Again, clean up your brayer really good. Clean your block off really good. Can't emphasize that enough. And we're going to go ahead and call this a demo. And hopefully the audio worked. I think it should. Thank you guys very much. Let me turn this off.